You're about to launch your supplement brand. You've spent months, maybe even a year or more, finding the perfect manufacturer. You've sourced premium ingredients. You've designed beautiful packaging that you're really proud of. Maybe if you have the budget, you get your certifications lined up. Your fulfillment partner is ready to go. Your inventory is on the way. You feel prepared. You feel like you've done everything right. But here's what nobody tells you. You're building on quicksand. Now, I know that sounds dramatic, but stick with me here because what I'm about to share with you is going to completely change how you think about launching and growing your supplement brand. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. Most of what founders obsess over pre-launch, and I'm talking about 80 to 90% of what they spend their time on, has almost nothing to do with whether they'll actually succeed. And that's not an exaggeration. I'm Bobby Hewitt, and I've been working with supplement brands for over 13 years. I've seen hundreds of brands launch. Some crush it, most struggle. And the difference between the two has nothing to do with product quality, nothing to do with their manufacturer, and nothing to do with their label design. The difference is something most founders never even consider before they launch. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're a pre-launch or if you're in the early stage of your brand, maybe you're doing your first $10,000, $20,000 in revenue, or maybe you have zero sales right now, this episode is for you. Because I'm going to show you that the foundation you think you need is not the foundation that actually matters. The reality is you're stuck trying to figure out the right answer to so many questions. How many products do I need at launch? Do I start with one product and perfect it? Or do I launch with a full line so I look like a real brand? You see your competitors with lots of products, and you think, maybe I need that too. What's the right price point to compete? You've done your competitive analysis. You've looked at everyone else in your niche. You're trying to figure out if you should price yourself as premium or if you need to be competitive. Maybe you're thinking about launching with an introductory price just to get traction. How much inventory should I order? This one keeps you up at night. What if you overorder and get stuck with product? What if you underorder and can't fulfill when sales start coming in? You're trying to calculate your cash flow and your runway and make a guess about demand you can't possibly predict yet. What claims can I make without getting my account shut down? You've probably spent hours, maybe days, researching supplement compliance. You're reading FDA guidelines. You're looking at what other brands say. You're trying to figure out where the line is between making your product sound compelling and not getting flagged for making drug claims. These are the questions that consume founders before launch. I see it all the time. And here's the thing. These are not bad questions. They're just not the right questions. Not yet anyway. Why? Well, let me tell you a story. I had a client come to me last year. He was at the pre-launch stage. He was a really sharp guy, actually. He had developed a unique supplement. The science was solid, really solid, actually. He had premium ingredients, all the right stuff at the right dosages. He had even done third-party testing. I mean, he had everything lined up with his manufacturer, a beautiful bottle design and everything. He was ready to go. He came to me because he wanted help with his product page. He had written a first draft, and he wanted me to review it before he launched. So I looked at it, and it was exactly what you'd expect. It had all the ingredients listed with the dosages. It had some scientific explanation of how each ingredient works in the body. It had some bullet points about the benefits. It looked like every other supplement product page out there. So I asked him to tell me about his customers' buying psychology. What's going through their mind when they're considering a joint health supplement? What do they actually care about? What are they afraid of? What do they want? And he looked at me like I was speaking another language. He said, and I'm quoting here, "Well, people with joint pain need relief, so they'll buy our supplement because it works." That's when I knew he was about to fail. Not because his product was bad, the product was great, not because his pricing was wrong, or his packaging was ugly, or his manufacturer was sketchy. None of that. He was about to fail because he had zero understanding of how people actually buy supplements. And this is the pattern I see over and over again. Founders who have spent months, sometimes years, developing their product. They've obsessed over every detail of the formulation. They've chosen between powder and capsules. They've debated different bottle sizes. They've negotiated with manufacturers, but they haven't thought for even 5 minutes about how their customer will actually make the buying decision. And that's the foundation that actually matters. So let me explain what I mean by that, because this is where it gets interesting. Right? People don't buy supplements the same way they buy other products. They sit in a unique position. They're right in the middle of a functional purchase and an emotional purchase. And this is not something most people understand, including most supplement marketers. Let me break this down. Think about buying Drano when your bathtub is clogged. You're standing there in 2 inches of water. You've got a problem right now. It's urgent. It's functional. You need a product that unclogs your drain. That's it. You're not thinking about your identity. You're not thinking about how this purchase makes you feel. You need it to work so you can take a shower. You'll never think about that purchase again until the next time your drain clogs, which hopefully is a long time from now. That's a purely functional purchase. Problem, solution, done. Now think about buying a Rolex watch. You're not buying it because you need to tell time. You've got a phone for that. You're buying it because of what it says about you. Status, success, belonging to a certain group. You're paying to maintain a feeling. That is expressed by how it makes you feel when you wear it, how it makes other people perceive you. You're buying an identity, a feeling, a signal to the world. That's a purely emotional purchase. It's not about function at all. But supplements are both at the same time. And this changes everything about how they're bought and how they need to be marketed. Let me explain what I mean by both. Your customer's functional mind is engaged when they're considering a supplement. They're thinking, will this work? How does it work? What's the mechanism of action? What does the research say? Are these the right ingredients? Are they at the right dosages? Is this brand trustworthy? Can I believe the claims they're making? This is where science lives. This is where your ingredient profile matters. This is where clinical studies and third-party testing and doctor endorsements come into play. This is about convincibility. Can you convince their logical brain that this supplement will actually address their specific issue? Most supplement brands understand this part. They lead with this. They start with the science. They explain the mechanism of action. They list all the ingredients with the dosages. They reference studies, and that's good. That's necessary. But it's only half of the equation, because at the same time, your customer's emotional mind is also engaged. Their emotional mind is focused on something completely different. It's focused on the solution, specifically on the future state. How will their life be different? What does better actually feel like? Who will they become when this problem is solved? This is where hope lives. This is where their desired identity lives. This is where you need to help them visualize what their life looks like 6 months from now when they've been taking your supplement consistently and they're seeing results. This is about desirability. Can you make them want that future state intensely enough that they're willing to take action right now? Can you make them feel what it's like to wake up without joint pain, to play with their grandkids without wincing, to go for a hike without worrying about their knees? And here's the critical part. Here's the thing that most supplement brands completely miss. Both minds need to be satisfied or there's no sale. If you only satisfy the functional mind, if you only give them the science and the mechanism of action and the ingredient list, they'll think it sounds good logically, but they won't feel compelled to buy. There's no emotional pull, no urgency, no desire strong enough to overcome inertia. if you only satisfy the emotional mind, if you only paint the picture of the future state without backing it up with any credibility or mechanism or proof, they'll think it sounds too good to be true. They'll be skeptical. They won't trust you. They won't believe it will actually work for them. You need both at the same time throughout your entire marketing message. And this is what I call the dual mind problem. It's the foundation of understanding how supplements are actually bought. And until you understand this, everything else you do is just guessing. Most supplement brands start with science. They lead with mechanism of action. They think if they can just explain how it works, people will buy. But that only satisfies the functional mind. You're completely ignoring the emotional mind, and when the emotional mind isn't satisfied, there's no desire strong enough to drive action. Other brands, usually the ones that are more marketing savvy, they go the opposite direction. They lead with the transformation, before and after pictures, emotional testimonials, big promises. But if they don't back it up with any credible mechanism or science, people don't trust them. Especially in today's market, where people are sophisticated and skeptical. The brands that win are the ones that satisfy both minds simultaneously. They give you the hope and the desire on the emotional side, while also giving you the trust and the believability on the functional side. And when you understand this dual mind problem, it changes how you think about everything. So let me show you what I mean. Let me show you how this dual mind problem affects every single pre-launch decision you're making. Remember that question, should I launch on Amazon or direct to consumer? Most founders think this is a platform decision. Where's the traffic? Where's the audience? Where can I get traction fastest? But when you understand the dual mind problem, the real question becomes, how do you satisfy both buying minds? Well, when you use a long page with more words, you have the space to satisfy both minds. You control the entire experience. You can structure your product page to first amplify desire, then introduce hope through your unique mechanism, then build trust with credibility markers, then reinforce belief. You can take someone on a journey that satisfies both the functional mind and the emotional mind, but you need to know how to do that. You need to understand the structure. You need to know where to place the science versus where to paint the emotional picture. Most direct-to-consumer brands don't know how to do this, so they just throw everything on the page and hope something sticks. This is what I cover in my online course on how to write sales pages that sell supplements. But even if you're not stuck there, you might be thinking how many products you need at launch. Most founders think this is a product line strategy question. One product looks too small. 5 products looks more legitimate. Maybe 3 is the right number. But when you understand the dual mind problem, the real question is, does my product reflect an understanding of different emotional states? Because desire and hope manifest differently across your customer base. Some people want the comprehensive solution. They want the full system. They're willing to commit fully. Their desire is high. Their hope is high. They're ready to go all in. Other people want to start small. They want to test it. They're skeptical. They've tried things before that didn't work. Their desire might be high, but their trust is low. They need a single focused answer first before they're willing to commit to more. This isn't about how many products you have. This is about understanding the buying psychology. How does each product in your line serve a different emotional state or buying stage? And here's another sticking point. What's the right price point? Most founders think this is a competitive positioning question. Are we premium or are we value? What's everyone else charging? But you're asking the wrong question. Price is a symptom of value perception, and value perception in supplements is split between two minds. If you only justify price with functional benefits, if you only say these are premium ingredients at clinical dosages, you'll still have to compete on price. Because functional benefits can be compared. Your competitor can match your ingredients. They can lower their price. You're in a commoditized market. But If you can amplify emotional desire, if you can make them feel the future state, if you can make them want the transformation so badly that price becomes less relevant, that's a different game. That's when you can charge more and people will pay it because they're not buying ingredients. They're buying hope and identity and a better version of themselves. Now, I'm not saying you should price yourself into the stratosphere. I'm saying that price is downstream from how well you satisfy both minds. Get the psychology right, and price becomes less of an obstacle. And this is where we need to go a level deeper. Because this dual mind problem is actually driven by 4 distinct forces that push and pull your customers toward or away from buying. I call these the 4 supplement buying forces, and this is the framework that everything else is built on. 2 forces on the emotional side, 2 forces on the functional side. And on the emotional side, you've got desire and hope. These are the pushing forces. They push people toward taking action. Desire is the push away from their current situation. It's rooted in the problem they have, the pain they're experiencing, the thing that's not working in their life right now. When you amplify desire, you're making them feel the urgency to change. You're making the current situation feel inadequate. You're making staying the same feel unacceptable. Hope is the pull toward a solution that might actually work this time. It's what gives them the belief that change is possible, that there's a path forward, that your supplement might be the missing piece they've been looking for. When you build hope, you're giving them the energy to take action, because hope is what propels desire into movement. On the functional side, you've got trust and belief. These are more complex. They act as both pushing forces and pulling forces depending on the situation. Trust is about whether they can trust your brand, your ingredients, the information you're providing. Can they trust that you're legitimate, that your product is safe, that you're not making things up? This is where credibility comes in. This is where third-party testing and certifications and endorsements matter. Trust needs to be accelerated quickly or people bounce. Belief is about whether they believe your supplement will work for them specifically. Not just in general, not just in a study, but for them given their specific situation. This is tied to their identity, their past experiences, their existing beliefs about what works and what doesn't. Belief is the hardest force to influence because it's the most personal. And these 4 forces, desire, hope, trust, and belief, they work together. They push and pull your customers through the buying decision. When all 4 are strong, the sale happens easily. When any one of them is weak, the sale stalls or doesn't happen at all. This is the real foundation you need before you launch, not your fulfillment partner, not your inventory levels, not your packaging design. Understanding these 4 forces and how to optimize for them in your marketing. Because here's what happens when you don't understand this foundation. You launch, you get some sales from friends and family who are supporting you. You feel good. You think you're onto something. Then you start running Facebook ads. You've got a decent product image. You've written some ad copy about the benefits. You're targeting people interested in joint health or gut health or whatever your category is. You think you've done everything right, and the ads just don't work. Your cost per click is high. Your click-through rate is low. When people do click, they hit your product page and bounce. Maybe 2% of visitors add to cart. Maybe 1% actually check out. You're spending $140 to acquire a customer who buys a $39 bottle. The math doesn't work. So you think maybe it's the ad creative. You test different images, different headlines, different angles. Nothing changes. Maybe it's the targeting. You try different audiences, different interests, maybe even lookalike audiences. Still nothing. Maybe it's the product page. You hire a copywriter. They rewrite it. They add some more benefit bullets. They make the guarantee bigger. Conversion rate goes from 1% to 1.2%. You've spent $4,000 on a copywriter for a 20% improvement that still doesn't make the math work. You start wondering why your competitor with inferior ingredients is outselling you. You can see their ads everywhere. They've got to be spending money. How are they making it work? You blame the algorithm. You blame Facebook's ad policies. You blame your ad creative. You think you need better copy or a better offer or a different platform. But the problem isn't any of those things. The problem was built into the foundation. You built your entire brand without understanding supplement buying psychology. You built it without optimizing for the four forces. And now you're trying to fix it with tactics. It doesn't work. Because tactics don't fix foundational problems. You can test 100 different ad variations, but if the underlying psychology is wrong, if you're not satisfying both minds, if you're not optimizing for all four forces, you're just rearranging deck chairs. What about your competitor who's crushing it? They might not even realize what they're doing right, but they're probably satisfying both minds. They're probably amplifying desire in their ads, building hope through a unique mechanism on their product page, accelerating trust with the right credibility markers, reinforcing belief throughout the experience. And you're not, because you didn't build that into your foundation. So what does it look like when you get this right? What happens when you understand the dual mind problem before you launch? Everything changes. Your product positioning isn't just about ingredients and benefits. It's about satisfying both the functional mind and the emotional mind simultaneously. You're not just listing what's in the bottle. You're telling a story about why this matters and how it changes their life. Your product page isn't just a list of features and scientific studies thrown together. It's a carefully structured journey. You're addressing desire first, making them feel the pain of their current situation, making them want change. Then you're building hope by introducing your unique mechanism. You're explaining why this works when other things haven't. Then you're accelerating trust with the right proof points. Then you're reinforcing belief by connecting this to their identity and their goals. Your marketing isn't about shouting louder than the competition. It's not about making bigger promises or running more ads. It's about speaking directly to the buying psychology your competitors don't even know exists. When someone lands on your product page, they feel understood. They feel like you get their problem at a deeper level. They feel hope that maybe this time it will be different. They trust you because you've built credibility the right way. They believe this will work for them because you've connected it to who they are and who they want to become. And the sale happens. Not because you had to convince them, but because you satisfied both minds. You gave the functional mind everything it needed to believe this is legitimate and credible. You gave the emotional mind everything it needed to want the transformation badly enough to take action. You're not just another supplement brand fighting for attention. You're a brand built on understanding how people actually buy supplements. And that's a completely different foundation. That's the foundation that leads to profitable customer acquisition. That's the foundation that leads to higher conversion rates. That's the foundation that leads to lower refund rates because people's expectations were set properly. That's the foundation that leads to higher lifetime value because the trust and belief you built in that first purchase carries through to repeat purchases. So if you're pre-launch or early stage and you've been obsessing over your fulfillment partner, I want you to stop for a second. Those things matter. I'm not saying they don't. You need good margins. You need reliable fulfillment. You need a product that actually works. Those are table stakes, but they're not your foundation. Your foundation is understanding supplement buying psychology, the dual mind problem, the four forces, the unique way supplements are bought. This is what I call supplement-specific thinking. It's not general e-commerce knowledge. It's not e-commerce best practices. It's the recognition that supplements require a completely different approach because they're bought in a completely different way. Most marketers and agencies treat supplements like any other product. They apply the same tactics they'd apply to selling shoes or coffee or yoga pants. And it doesn't work because the buying psychology is fundamentally different. Supplements sit at the intersection of functional and emotional. They require both the functional mind and the emotional mind to be satisfied simultaneously. They're influenced by 4 distinct forces that need to be optimized together. And until you understand that, you're guessing. You're throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping something sticks. Now, here's the reality. You can learn these frameworks. I teach them in detail in my course. The dual mind problem, the 4 forces, how to structure a product page that satisfies both minds, how to create a unique mechanism that builds hope and trust. All of that is teachable. But knowing the framework and implementing it in your specific business are 2 very different things. This is what I see all the time. Founders who take my courses, they watch the videos, they understand the concepts, they nod their heads, they get it intellectually, but then they sit down to apply it to their specific supplement in their specific niche for their specific customer, and they get stuck. They're not sure how to amplify desire for their particular problem. They're not sure what unique mechanism will resonate in their market. They're not sure which trust markers matter most for their audience. They're not sure how to structure their page in a way that balances all 4 forces. And this is why I'm starting a weekly group coaching program in 2026. Because theory is one thing, but application is everything. In the group coaching, I look at your specific situation, your specific market, your specific customer, and you implement the frameworks in a way that actually works. You bring your product page, and I tell you exactly where the desire is weak and how to fix it. You bring your unique mechanism, and I tell you whether it's going to build hope or fall flat. You bring your questions about trust, and I show you what matters for your specific audience. It's not just learning, it's implementation with live feedback. It's accountability because you're showing up every week with progress. It's learning from other supplement brands going through the same process. That's where the real transformation happens, not in understanding the concepts, but in applying them. To learn more about the group, go to creativethirst.com/group or look for the link in the show notes. All right, so in the next episode, we're going to talk about marketing and customer acquisition. That's a fancy way of saying how to get buyers. And I'm going to show you that it has nothing to do with your ad creative or your targeting or your ad platform. It has everything to do with marketplace sophistication, understanding what stage your market is in and what they need to hear at that stage. Most supplement markets are in stage 3 or stage 4. That means your customers have heard every promise before. They've tried multiple products. They're skeptical. They're jaded. And if you're making the same promises everyone else is making, they're tuning you out. You need a unique mechanism. You need to speak to them differently. And that's what we're going to dive into next episode. But here's what I want you to take away from today. If you're building a supplement brand, you're not in the supplement business. You're in the supplement buying psychology business. The sooner you understand that, the sooner you'll start seeing different results. Your foundation isn't your manufacturer or your ingredients or your fulfillment. Your foundation is understanding the dual mind problem and the 4 forces that drive every supplement purchase. Get that right, and everything else gets easier. Skip that, and everything else is just tactics that don't work. That's supplementing specific thinking. That's what makes my thinking different from all the other marketing agencies out there, and that's the foundation that actually matters. See you next Sunday.